Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about Season 1, Episode 7 of Kevin Can F Himself, entitled Broken. The title is pretty self-explanatory. The term is used twice in this episode, once by Sam in reference to Allison, and once by Allison in reference to herself. I think we get, we see probably like 3, 4, 5 spontaneous bursts into tears from Allison. So I guess we're able to deduce that she is struggling more with this attempted murder than we thought she would. Well, I shouldn't say attempted murder. That makes it sound like she's already tried something yet, which she hasn't. But she's struggling with this murder of her husband more than we probably expected her to be, and definitely more than she expected to be. So interesting title. So we find out in this episode that she's asking Nick to do the murder on the upcoming Saturday. She's going to be out of town. She says Kevin's going to be full bachelor mode, shit-faced, passed out, and it should be pretty simple. She'll be out of town, alibi, yada, yada, yada. And, yes, everything seems like it's going to go well, but then Nick goes to work. He gets fired. He's probably jumpy because of this whole situation as well. He pushes a guy, gets fired, and, your parole officer is going to find out about that. He says he's going to end up going back to jail, so he calls up someone and says, we're leaving tonight or doing something tonight or whatever. And we are left to presume that Nick has moved up the timeline on this murder from next Saturday to tonight, and that is unbeknownst to everyone. And then the show kind of like does something that I like, which it goes back and forth between Allison being, I don't want to say interrogated, but questioned about Kevin as it pertains to a shooting. And then we go back 4 days to the events that lead up to this shooting. Now, we don't know who was shot. We don't know who was involved. We don't know if the individuals are dead or not. And I like that aspect of it, building up that tension. Because this built up tension even within the sitcom world. Because we spend the day leading up to this shooting knowing that this shooting is going to happen. So it adds an extra layer of tension to the sitcom stuff because Kevin's only present in the sitcom stuff, and we know that he is involved in some way in a shooting. So we're sitting there like, we don't know when it's going to happen. We don't know who's going to be involved, anything like that. So I thought that was a really cool decision by the team behind the show to make. So that was kind of fun. But also in the sitcom world, Kevin and Neil decide they're going to start a band. And who gives a shit? But they decide they're going to start this band. And Neil discovers some fertility brochures that Allison inexplicably threw out in the trash in front of her house. Like, what? Why would you do that? Like, gosh. Sometimes you have shows that do things for plot purposes that don't make sense. And I always feel like just write something different. Because I feel like if you're good enough to write a television show, which I, of course, am not, presumably, who knows, maybe. But I, of course, am not good enough to write a television show. But I feel like if I want to make it feasible that a person could be caught with these fertility brochures, I'd have found a way to make it actually feasible. Well, not feasible, but like find a way to make it. No, I guess feasible works. Like feasible within the real world, or at least a little bit more accepting in the real world than presumably she walked all the way to her house, passing however many trash cans, failing to throw it in there, and then throwing it out right in front of her house for potentially someone to discover it. But that's thinking a little bit deeply, and that's not a knock against the episode or anything like that. Just an observation I made. But this episode did a lot of stuff that I liked a lot. I don't know if I would call it the best episode of the season. I know this is now 3 in a row that I thought were pretty good, but this one did a good job. So like I mentioned already, I like the back and forth between the questioning of Allison and finding out about the events that lead up to this shooting that happens that we still don't know what happened at it. So I thought that was cool. Like I mentioned, the extra layer of tension on the sitcom stuff. I like the fact that I feel like they're trying, of course, to make us think that Kevin got shot, right? Which, I mean, the whole point of the show is Kevin dies. We know Nick is supposedly moving up the timeline on this, but we don't know what Nick's talking about, though. Nick might not even be the person that's there. Like, maybe, I don't know, maybe there's somebody else there and whatever this shooting, no, maybe nobody even gets shot. Maybe just a gun gets fired and the police come and that's it. So like we don't know what happens, but they want us to believe that Kevin was shot and killed, and which I do not. So yeah, I don't know where this is going, but I enjoy the I enjoy the, I don't want to say misdirection, because they're not really, I don't feel like it's a complete misdirection, but I enjoy the strategy of making us feel like we know where this is going when we probably don't. Like, we're probably going to be wrong. Another thing I liked about this episode, I thought Patty did a really good job of being supportive in this episode. And I know that sounds like a weird thing to shout out, but you think about where we've come with Patty at the beginning of the show being incredibly standoffish, incredibly rude to Allison, and now she's being a really good friend. And not just a really good friend in murder planning, but like a really good friend in general. Like, I like the scene that they shared in the bathtub. I thought that was a good scene. I really liked Patty's advice about the affair with Sam being a bad idea, which it is, you know, and they did a good job of thinking like, okay, what do we need to prepare for to kind of like build an alibi and remove a motive? And when you have, you know, an affair with somebody, that automatically might give you motive. Maybe you want to get rid of your husband so you can be with the new guy. So she goes to this fertility clinic to kind of make it look like they're trying to have a baby. That was really smart. Just it wasn't smart throwing the brochure out in front of your house. But hey, what are we going to do, right? It's not going to be perfect. But I thought Patty did a good job of being really good emotional support for Allison in her murder quest. But yeah, good episode for Patty. I really like the scene where Allison breaks off whatever this is that she has with Sam, and she does it very cruelly. And I thought that Sam could have played that up a little bit more because, you know, Sam alluded to their past and how Allison has kind of been in control the whole time. And this seemed to be, from Sam's perspective, I would think, another example of that. So he didn't go as hard on that point as I expected him to do. He didn't go hard on that point at all. He just called her broken, but I thought that was going to be a situation where we're going to learn a little bit more about what happened with them in the past, and then maybe even get some context as to how her relationship with Kevin might have impacted what happened with Sam in the past. So, but we didn't get that, but I still thought that was a good scene because afterward, Allison leaves and immediately starts crying. So I thought that was a good scene because it's like, again, we know that she's struggling with this whole Kevin killing thing now that it's getting real, and she also now, because of that, had to break things off with Sam, and we know that she really likes Sam. So yeah, but hey, you gotta provide an alibi for your murder, baby. So you can't keep that affair going. You gotta prioritize, right? You want new dick, or you want to go to jail? You gotta figure it out. But I also liked. Well, I don't want to say I liked, but it made me question a couple things. And this is going to kind of like feed into a small con that I have for this show, but I've noticed it happening a lot. So we have a scene where Neil is at the house with Patty. I believe this is, I don't even know whose house this is. Because that's another thing is like, they've been very tricky with sets and who is in what set and where. So I don't necessarily know what house that they're in. I'm assuming this is where Neil lives, because I thought Patty had like an apartment, or was that Kurt's place? So like that's what I think is kind of throwing me off, is like, I don't know where anybody lives other than I know the set for Kevin and Allison's house, and that's it. Wherever they were at, I don't know if that's Neil's house, if that's like the house that's next door. I don't know if that's somebody's apartment. I don't know what that is. But anyway, there's the scene, and Neil shows up, and Patty is there with the cop. I think her name was Tammy or something like that. I feel like they haven't really said her name very much. And it's morning. She says, "Good morning, Neil." And then the whole scene plays out with her teaching him how to interrogate somebody for laughs. You know, it's like, okay, cool, whatever. But I'm noting the good morning because are we to imply that, not imply, are we to infer that she slept over with Patty the previous night and stayed into the morning, which is, like I said, this is going to feed into a little bit of a con that I had, which is, I feel like, again, and this is kind of in the same vein as the issue that I have with the sets, where I just feel like it's hard to get a hold on who lives where because we see the same people in each place. So like I've seen Patty in 3 different homes. Okay, so I don't know where the fuck Patty lives. Like I just said, I don't know if that's Kurt's house. Kurt's apartment was that her apartment. Like, and again, that's probably just me. Like, it's probably something where like if I watched it again, it'd be obvious. But as it is, I don't really know. But what I do know is that I do think this show struggles with editing a little bit at times because in the previous scene, prior to this morning scene, I'm pretty sure this was a scene where Patty goes to the cop's house and essentially is just like, hey, after having a moment with Allison, is like, yeah, you're the right person for me. I want to be with you. They start making out. The next time we see them, it's morning time, but they're at a location that Neil can just burst into. So did Neil show up at the cop's house? Is that Patty's place? But now they went from, even though Patty was at the cop's house, did they now go to Patty's place even though they were already at somebody's place? So like that kind of tricky editing, not tricky editing, but that kind of like sloppy editing, that's thrown me off consistently throughout the season. There's been times where they'll cut from one thing to the next, or the time that we see someone after we saw them last, their location has changed and the time has changed, and we just kind of got to pick that up, and it can be a little jarring at times. So a little bit of, I don't want to say questionable editing, but editing that could be better. But where was I? I was talking about the interrogation thing, or teaching Neil how to interrogate. I thought that was a good scene because, like I said, it made me wonder, like, did they sleep together the previous night? And then I thought that Neil had a good episode. I thought Neil had a couple of actually funny lines in this episode. So good episode for him. This is the second time where I actually got a laugh or two out of the sitcom portion. So and it felt more natural, the laugh track, because I feel like the laugh track, like Kevin was so bad, and it's still so bad, but so bad at the beginning that the laugh track always felt like salt on the wound. Like, this guy is so terrible, and now this forced fake laugh track is coming in here, and it's frustrating to me. But then when you have a certain amount of time where you can get some of those laughs, like some legitimate laughs, and they actually have some legitimately funny lines, and now we're kind of used to what these characters are like, the laugh track almost feels a little bit more natural. Like that, like wait, is there really people there, or is it a laugh track? So I thought Neil had a strong episode this week. And then lastly, I thought the ending was really good. I was wondering and hoping that when Kevin goes to investigate this, whoever might be in this house, the intruder, I was hoping it was going to stay with Kevin's perspective, but still go into the darker world and out of the sitcom world. And now Kevin's like going down his stairs with his gun, and it's like, drama Breaking Bad type shit. But I still like what they did, how he leaves, it switches back to the dark world, and then we hear the gunshot. And I thought that was a really, really nice ending for the episode. So pretty strong episode, but I do have a couple of other things I want to talk about, a couple problems I had in addition to the editing, and then a couple thoughts I had as well. So I already mentioned the pamphlet being thrown out in front of our house. I just thought was weird, but again, minor thing. I'm struggling to believe the Patty cop relationship. And this is, again, just a minor issue, but we just saw this thing start to happen in episode 5, maybe? I think was the last episode, episode 6, when she goes to meet up and that she thinks that she's going to, be interrogated or something, and finds out that she was just being invited essentially on a date. I wish they had planted seeds of Patty being interested in women a little bit earlier, to make it so that it doesn't feel like this is someone who has strictly been into guys, and now all of a sudden this is all happening so fast, which is what is happening. That's what Patty said, and I think that kind of adds a little bit more to what happened with Kurt, because you look at it like, okay, was it Kurt, or was it the fact that he was just a guy and maybe she's into women? But I don't know. I think just because, even though I feel like they're doing it right, at least for what I think they're trying to do anyway, even though I think they're doing it right, I'm struggling to get on board with this relationship, because I at no point did I feel like we were kind of like easing into this to where now I can believe that she would have this awakening, like maybe like a moment where, she looks at Alice in a certain way or something like that, to kind of feel like, oh, maybe she, like, if I go, like, is she kind of into her? Like, what's going on here? Something like that, to where when the cop comes along and they actually have their situation, that it feels like something the show was kind of leading into, which I didn't, I haven't really gotten that. So I'm not totally, when I say on board, I mean on board as far as like believing this relationship. I don't give a fuck who fucks who on what show. And I mentioned the thing about the edit, so that was another thing that I had an issue with. Now, a couple of thoughts to close out before we wrap this one up and get ready for the finale next week or in 2 weeks, depending on whether you watch on AMC Plus or on AMC. I noticed that Annie Murphy, who plays Allison on the show, still does a lot of the mannerisms of Alexis on Schitt's Creek. She does the hand thing every now and then. She did it when she when she's leaving with this pamphlet from the fertility clinic. She kind of like has her hands like in this like kind of like Mr. Burns kind of thing, like this. I'll be back later, like something like that. That's the kind of thing that she does. Like, I can't wait to show my husband. And she's like doing this little hand thing that Alexis does. So I noticed that she does a lot of the Alexis mannerisms every now and then. Like, it's not a ton, but I notice it. And then, what's up with the scene between Sam and his wife? Obviously, there was a ton of tension there. She starts kind of like ragging on her parents. He joins in, and then she gets mad at him, and they kind of have it out. Well, they don't kind of have it out. They have it out. And I'm just wondering where this came from, because we haven't seen them enough to really get an idea of what their marriage is like. We've only seen, she pops up randomly like, hey, Allison. And it's like, oh shit, Sam's wife here. And I just got through fucking Sam. Like, that's pretty much the only thing we've seen. And it makes me wonder, are they trying to tell us that Sam is they've been having issues in their marriage or something? Or is it just a regular fight? Is the wife cheating too? Or, does she suspect that Sam is cheating? Like, I'm wondering why so late in the season they've introduced the tension between Sam and his wife. So I'm just wondering what's up with that. But all in all, I thought this was a pretty strong episode. Again, 3 in a row. We're leading into the finale next week. I don't even know if Kevin's going to end up dead. I don't know if this is something that has a plan for multiple seasons. I feel like it shouldn't, but you can't drag out Kevin's death over a couple of seasons. And if you kill him, what's the point of doing any more seasons? So, but I'm curious to see how we're going to wrap up. It's started to become a pretty fun ride about halfway through the season. So, and again, I still feel like the show, there's areas where it could have done better. You tightened up the editing. You make the sitcom portion a little bit funnier. Don't be so great at making Kevin obnoxious. But I really liked it conceptually. So it's been fun this second half, and I'll see you guys for the finale next week. Peace.